Yes,
Recording.
man.
All right, y'all. Family, we back from our commercial break. I forgot to tell y'all we was going on a commercial break, but we back. We back. So, just wrapping up that whole Diddy conversation, right? So, a lot of women who are commenting on this topic and issue, they kind of go into the whole spiel of toxic masculinity here in America, of him abusing, like how we saw in the video of him abusing Cassie at the hotel, and a lot of people trying to mask it and cover it up. What do y'all think about the whole situation or the whole topic of toxic masculinity, and if there is any toxic femininity? Because I would say it is. But Luke, what would you say?
Um,
Go ahead,
well,
Luke.
first,
Take it over.
yeah, definitely. So with the whole toxic masculinity thing, I mean, I do agree that with the formality of the terminology can be real. Um, do I personally believe that it's something that happens as often as much as it's accused of? Absolutely not. I think if anything, we're lacking a lot of masculinity nowadays and a lot of the men. So for there to be a toxic amount, I don't think we're there. One of the main reasons I say that is because even if I look at the Diddy situation, yeah, there are always those exceptions. There are those abusers, mental, physical, verbal abusers. There are always thieves. There are always bank robbers. There's going to always be that. But on a large scale, as far as men are concerned, I don't know. I just personally don't see it. If anything, I think it's the total opposite. I think we are a lot more passive, especially when it comes to dealing with our women. And lastly, to answer the question of toxic femininity, no, I don't believe it exists. I believe that these are portions like water. Like there's no such thing as too much water on the planet, right? It just exists. How you apply it though determines on what we're using it for. Or for like the famous example of fire. I can use a fire to keep a baby warm, or I can use a fire to burn down a house. The fire ain't bad, the fire ain't good, the fire ain't toxic. It just is. But how I use it is that's what is really being determined from it. So that's just my intake on the whole little toxic masculinity and all that stuff, man.
So you telling me that there ain't no toxic women out here? Because I can name a couple of them off the bat right now.
Yeah, yeah. I say they're toxic women, but toxic femininity. See, to say it's toxic mean like you think about the terminology of what the word is implying. There is an issue with the product. I don't believe that there's an issue with a product to where because of so much of it, it's a problem. I believe the issue is the manipulation of the product, the manipulation of masculinity, the manipulation of femininity, how people are choosing to use it is really what it is. But I agree with you 100%.
Okay.
There are women out here, but to me, if they are becoming toxic, are they really dwelling in femininity?
Mm.
That's what I begin to question. That's why it's harder for me to say, yeah, they're being a toxic. Because I ain't never had a woman make me a sandwich too good to where it's toxic femininity. I've never had a woman come and motivate me and encourage me into where I'm like, oh, this is toxic. Your support, the way you comfort me, the way you know what I'm saying, the way you support my dreams, it's just too much. Like, come on, man. I don't think it exists. I don't.
What
In
about
my
you,
opinion.
Israel? Do you think what you think about toxic masculinity here in America? Is that actually a thing, or is it like a lot of people complaining, or like what's your take on it?
Uh, when you say toxic masculinity, what exactly would you say you mean? That's the real question.
So, like, for example, a lot of women would say mansplaining or over explaining certain things, uh, basically like putting your input in is unnecessary to to what's going on in the situation that might be a little toxic. Or let's say you being a little bit more aggressive and argumentative than you need to be to put yourself in that situation. You're doing too much is might be toxic to certain women. Yelling, screaming, beating, all of those things could be toxic masculinity to certain women. So what do you, if with that definition, what do you say to that?
So the question is, do I feel like toxic masculinity is too much?
Yeah, basically, like, what's your thoughts on that topic?
Man, I don't know. I feel it's toxic. It's a lot of toxic female and male masculinity. Toxic female masculinity would be like, or femininity. What'd you say? Toxic. Toxic which
Feminine,
one?
yeah, femininity for women.
Toxic femininity. Toxic femininity for women would be like, oh yeah, she she messes up your house and this, that, the third, because she know you're gonna say something, but then she wanna have makeup sex later or something like that. And for dudes, doing things such as nature, maybe talking to other women or cheating or smacking her because he knows she like it, and because she like it, he gonna do it because then it's gonna drive her more into him or something like that. There's a certain extent to that
That's
every
just
man
rough
and woman.
sex.
There's a certain sense because this guy right here is toxic, talking about rough sex, but it's just like it's like, yeah, I'm gonna be toxic. I'm gonna say I love you and then do some wild crazy shit to you too, and then come back like I ain't do nothing. Like, dude, you toxic. Women do that all the time. Like they try you all the time, and then they see what you're gonna do, and then they may or may not apologize. But I don't know. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty toxic. It's not healthy. Let's say that on either end. It will cost you more than you expect. More of your peace, your sanity, your environment. The non-tangible things is what the toxicity will cost you in the long run.
Damn, I like that.
That's some two
It
cents
would
on it.
cost
So I
you
so
more.
I got to pose a question then. So if a woman, let's say a woman is doing things to invoke her man, right? So she's agitating him, maybe, you know, kind of nagging after he get off work or whatever, or maybe doing a lot of crying and complaining. I could definitely see that as being an example of what you would say as toxic femininity because it's an exertion of what would naturally be there for whatever the reason is. Maybe it's to get attention, maybe it's to get him to notice something about her. So I would definitely have to agree there. But would you say that in a situation to where a man tells his woman or his wife, she comes out with something nice, they're going out to eat, right? And he said, "Baby, I don't like what you got on. Go change." I think that's what they're starting now to identify as like toxic masculinity. Like, I don't like what you're doing and I don't like the way you're moving like that. And because I'm your man, this is how I want you to do it. I think we didn't got to a day and age now to where it's like, well, I shouldn't have to do that. It's me, I could do that. I can understand that if she was single, but how do you
Right.
feel about the situation if that was your woman and you had to tell her like, you know what, I don't like what you wearing. I don't like what you got on. We finna go out in public. You mind going to change? You mind going to put something else on a little bit more appropriate? Would you consider that as toxic masculinity?
Hell no.
Right.
If I
No,
tell
I don't
you,
think so. It's just
listen,
order of respect here.
exactly. Like, if I'm saying that that's too much to have on, okay, so there's no secret. Everybody that's Coptic listening, that they know. I'm gonna have to go ahead and get in here in this bag real quick. They know how many women I date. Okay.
No, whatever.
And there are some people, you know what I'm saying, some women who are more, I want to say, some that are more conservative and some that aren't. And the ones that aren't, even that they know that they're not that conservative, they still wear clothes that are appropriate for outside, if that makes sense.
Right.
So
Mm.
if I'm telling you if I say
No,
that's something crazy that you wearing, you is wilding. Like,
But it's
now,
like you got women
good.
have like two sets of clothes. They got the set to bait the man to get the man, and then after that, you got to wear, kind of wane off of the bait to switch to like, oh yeah, I still look sexy, but
with respect.
respectfully
Right, right.
sexy for my man in public. But if you single, like, yeah, you can wild out. But then it's like, all right, you got to think about as a guy, like, yeah, I liked her because of this. But then it's just the way you say it, the way you got to say it to her. Because it don't matter what, which leads back to earlier in your statement. Whatever a woman can invoke a man, do everything to a man where she wrong. But as soon as a man retaliates, he's wrong. Even though she
Right.
was wrong and he retaliated. Like it's like you can't do nothing to the woman,
No,
even though
no.
she was wrong. Because then you'll
I
be wrong.
You're wrong, and I agree with that aspect because I'm old school traditional mindset. Like we're still the head, so we're held accountable. They're emotional. A lot of them are emotional. They use their emotions to express themselves. But as men, we're supposed to be able to govern our mind and make critical decisions, especially in times of pressure. That's when I believe we really are able to show the difference in the household roles, right? When everything going good, yeah, of course. But when things start going wrong, when panic goes on, somebody get hurt, the lights got cut off, somebody forgot to pay a bill, there's a medical emergency. As men, we're if the dominance is there and the respect is there in the family, there's like a tonality that happens to where it's like, okay, whatever he say, go. We in that mode. Like what he's speaking on behalf of all of us. And I do believe that's what they're identifying as toxic nowadays. I think they're identifying what used to be normal as toxic because I see us actually being a little nicer as men. But I think about my grandfather, both of my grandfathers. It I don't speak nowhere near as harshly as they do, especially with the women I'm in relationships with. But it seemed like they had better success with the relationships that they had than I had. So it makes me begin to ask myself which way worked better.
Well,
You
right
know,
now it's like a remix going on. We got the women who want to be the modern day feminists, but also want their men to still be traditional.
right, right.
So it's
See,
like
y'all they ain't getting that out of me.
they haven't made up their mind exactly what they really want to do. You want someone to cater to you, make sure you pay all the bills, make sure you got things fixed, your car note, and all this other stuff. But then at the same time, you yelling out that you're independent.
Right,
How?
right,
That's two different spectrums of that you're trying to force into one. And a lot of things you can't do that. There's balance in the man and the woman's relationship. The man's role and the woman's role have been fluctuated because of different circumstances. We can get
mhm,
into the whole thing of the civil rights movement, then fast forward it into all of the war on drugs campaign that was specifically put on the black community to take the black man outside of the home, and then we can speak on the whole fact of you put the women on the welfare, and then, well, how do you get the welfare? How do you get the Section 8? Well, make sure that there's no man in the house to provide and protect you. And so now
mhm.
we having this whole thing. Well, now we got women trying to be the head of the house when not necessarily that's their place.
Right, right.
Let me
And
rephrase that because I can hear all of the women viewers right now trying to get on my case. Solomon, how dare you? You heard what I said. You heard what I said, goddamn it. It's a place and thing for everything. There's an order to everything. And in the Coptic faith,
right,
we understand that. You know what I'm
right,
saying? There's an order to life, there's an order to how life is supposed to be lived. And if a
Right.
woman wants to live in her divine feminine energy, then the man has to be the man. You have to allow that to happen. You are the
Right.
helpmate. You are the helper. He is the leader.
He is the leader. And then now you're able, when things go right and when things go wrong, the family gets the glory. The family gets it's still a family unit, or it's a relationship. And I mean, honestly, like I say, that's probably one of the reasons I'm single now, because I don't think that what I see ain't really what the reality is out there now. And out of respect, I be cool on. I be cool. Because I'm not trying to get into, I'm not, one thing I don't want to do as far as like my relationships personally is to be warring for control, warring for who's right. And then watch this. If a woman gets with a man, he's making all these decisions, things are going good, but he makes a decision that's not the best decision. If a woman tears a man down for that, to me, that shows a lot about the woman, because it was good when everything was going good. But when you constantly have to make real-time decisions and govern lives, especially if you have children or whatever, at some point you're gonna make an error. But your team not supposed to say, "Oh, you're not the captain no more. You ain't the coach no more, because you made an error." We don't know. That's not how it works. You being that's toxic coachingality. Like, no, no. The coach cussed y'all out, and he probably had the wrong player. He excited, whatever the reason may be. At some point, if the mission is the same, you let it roll off your back. And I personally watched that from my grandmother. I used to watch it all the time. She'll let it roll off her back. So again, I asked, what works? It seems like the freedom ain't working for us. The independent queen ain't working for us. Because if it was working, I feel we would have more relationships. We would have more marriages. We would have that, especially as a people, young people. Who, we ain't really interested in it as much nowadays. Um,
What
the
you think
United
about that?
States, they declared it a national emergency. I kid you all not. Then that the United States declared it a state of emergency because they're not making enough children. So these ain't my words. Numbers don't lie.
Well, we can
That's crazy. It's like where how do you expect us to make more children with the way the economy is? Like it's
exactly.
ridiculous.
Yeah,
I don't plan on bringing none in with the way, gas prices up there, milk is up there, milk is crazy. Milk and gas used to be the same price, but it's like, no.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I agree. Economically, I mean,
I mean, I commend you, you do what you do, but
it's
I'm
it.
like,
Well, yeah.
yo, for me,
I, I be thinking about it. I mean, I got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. Expensive wise, expenses only really come in when you have to substitute time. That's what I've experienced in my own personal life. Now I have 2 daughters, and they are indeed spoiled. They get what they deserve. Yeah, that's the way I spoil them. I don't give them just what they want. But if they earned it and they deserve it, I give it to them. But I mean, only thing I feel like I ever miss out on is time to go make them more money. As far as what they personally cost me, I feel adults are more expensive, because children want until they're satisfied. Adults keep wanting. Adult satisfaction doesn't last as long as a child. You can go get a child. You can go get a child like a 2004 cell phone, and it's a MacBook to them. You see what I'm saying? But you get that to a grown person, they looking at you like you crazy. Like, we in 2024, we got iPhones now. You know, so I personally haven't experienced the just drastic amount of money being taken. Only thing I experienced is me having to sacrifice where I could be earning money to take care of them. But all that did was mindset to where now I want to find out how to make money while still being around them. So I guess that was kind of like my come up from the situation. But I don't think it's too expensive though. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's me. I am a little cheap sometimes. So
Yeah, I'm gonna just speak from experience. These women is definitely expensive nowadays. I don't know what be going on with them. I don't know if it's the daddy issues or what, but they be going around. You know how that picture of the gross sister that we had off of Disney Channel off of the Proud Family always had a
Yeah,
hand out. This is exactly how some of these women be out here looking like one of the gross sisters. If you don't put your hand down,
Unattractive, very unattractive. Makes me look the other way. Like, yeah, you look good, but begging for money, What they say? I never seen my seed beg for bread.
for
You
real.
ain't the Lord's seed.
Nah, for real. Yeah, but I don't know. I got hope in it. I got hope in future relationships. I got hope in the fact that if we are any kind of way toxic, that it is gonna get better. It's just like y'all said, the economy is different now. It's a lot going on. And I think we gotta kind of learn how to work with one another a little bit better. We coming out of the era like Solomon was saying earlier, they took the men out, they put, the drug system and all that, but we coming out of that era now, we're dealing with the effects of what it was. So how do we resolve those issues that we clearly see? And one of the greatest issues we dealing with right now between the ages of 25 and 35 is relationships. Relationships and dating. It's crazy right
it's a lot of dishonesty going on. People are not real with themselves. And if you ain't gonna be real with yourself, you can't be real with nobody else. So a lot of the self-awareness is what people need to focus on. They need to know who they are first. And I think we are also, like you say, the aftermath of those things that happened in the 90s, things that happened in the 80s, now in 2024. Now the conversation has shifted from what they didn't even know what was really causing it to now let's see, can we fix it? But people have
now.
to acknowledge that there was the problem first.
Right,
To
right.
the first step to getting better is to first knowing that there was a problem to begin with. So that's where we at right now.
Hey, that's why they got to come check out the Pharaohs Podcast.
Facts.
You feel me? We opening up the doors for the conversation.
Facts. And for real
Absolutely.
quick, for people who want to understand, why did we name it the Pharaohs Podcast? Well, what is a pharaoh? A pharaoh is a king, and not just any king, it's an Egyptian king. Okay? So for the listeners out here who's trying to figure out, well, what was the purpose of that? Understand that we are all what I say, we kings. These the three wise men.
Yeah.
These are three
Yeah.
kings right now. But because we all specialize in our own thing, but we wanted to come together to share our minds and wisdom with you all. Because we're going to tackle all the topics that people either are afraid to talk about, that don't know how to address it. Even some of the things that we hear on a Sunday that might not be as popular opinionated as people might say. We're going to break that stuff down here on the podcast.
Facts. Absolutely. Tune in, tell your friends about us. We gotta have these, you have to have these discussions. And there are many different shows and stuff, but I agree. See, everybody has a different way about themselves. Some people you're able to catch things with easier than others. That's what we hear. We just trying to start that conversation so we can identify these issues that we have, identify the good things that we have, but have the conversations have to happen. We're not talking enough about what we want to see and how we feel about things. And usually it is arguing. We're not here trying to argue. We're trying to discuss,
Right.
So
We're going to drop them jewels for you.
def.
Go ahead, Israel. What you was going to say?
I said conversate. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Conversations to make you think and converse.
Yeah.
and not just to give y'all what we think. We want to hear from y'all as well. So y'all can comment under the videos. We have our first podcast already on the channel. This is the second podcast will be dropping. We got Israel, he'll be dropping videos throughout the week. We got Luke, he'll be dropping videos throughout the week. I'm gonna be dropping videos throughout the week. We're gonna have our own little playlists and things like that. So you can always pick and see our own personal thoughts when we're not on the podcast together.
Facts.
And with that being said, thank y'all for joining us for our second episode of the Pharaohs Podcast. Like I said earlier, I am the host Solomon.
Dr. Luke in the building.
Dr. Luke is in the building. Israel is in the building. Well, he outside right now, but he in the building. You can find me. Really, y'all can start emailing us too. If y'all also want to comment under these videos on YouTube, y'all can comment in the comment section. We're gonna be tagging people. Y'all can tag us into certain things. You have us all on all of the social media platforms. Give me 1 second. You can email us at the Pharaohs Podcast at gmail.com.
Facts. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You gotta like and subscribe.
Facts.
Gotta help YouTube know that this is what you want to hear. If you liking the content.
It was taking me a minute to get to it, but just wanted to share this last picture so y'all can follow us at the Pharaohs Podcast. I got a link tree going on too. And for Instagram, it's the Pharaoh at the Pharaohs Podcast 3, the number 3 right after it, because I guess 1 and 2 was already taken. So, out of time. Yep, we run
So
out of time.
now we got a third one. All right. Deuces.
All right, now, y'all. We gonna see y'all later. Peace.
Peace.